You are going to be the mother of a child. Don't you feel sorry for your unborn child? My mother-in-law brought up my child. How coward is she? Find a job. Both you and your daughter are healthy. You can still work if you choose to. Your daughter is still young. She can work as much as she wants. Find a job. If you want to protect your kids, you need to stand up by yourself. You do nothing and come ask for help. Things do not work that way. My name is Sarah. I've been married to my husband Chris for 3 years. We get along well and are leading a happy life. My husband is a kind and caring man, but his mother has been bothering me day after day. Before we got married, she told us she wanted to live with us, so it is okay to live with her. When we started living together, I thought we had a good relationship. However, my father-in-law passed away 3 months ago, and our relationship changed drastically. Looking back on it now, I believe that my father-in-law was a palliative for my mother-in-law and me. After my father-in-law passed away, my mother-in-law began to pick on me. My mother-in-law seems to rely on my husband, and her rivalry with me is unbearable. Why did Chris choose such a wife? Whenever my husband is not around, she repeats such rude remarks. At times like this, I'm so glad I have a job. If I were a full-time housewife, I would have to endure this sarcasm all day long. If I could only endure it for less than an hour before my husband comes home, I would be free from this snoring. With this thought in mind, I decided to let it pass without saying anything in particular back to her. However, I was fed up with the daily grumbling for an hour. Twice a week, I'm in charge of making dinner. However, while I'm preparing the meal, my mother-in-law comes into the kitchen, and she's always nagging me about what to do and how to do it. No, it's simmered dishes again today? Angela, you don't like fried food, do you? Don't treat me like I'm old. The other day, you said you didn't like fried food. Before that, you said you didn't like a stew. I never said that. Has she got dementia? But if I say that, this screeching will go on and on. Well then, I will make fried food. Fried fish would be good. Something we don't have in the fridge again. I bet she checked in advance and said that. I understand. Then I will ask Chris to get some fish. Wow, you use my son like a maid, don't you? A maid? He's going to eat it too, so shouldn't it be okay for him to get it? What am I saying is, you make my son run errands. Okay then, we will have simmered vegetables today. I don't want to eat simmered vegetables. Then I will use delivery today. Don't try to skip your chores. I just couldn't help but have a bitter smile. In the end, no matter what I suggested, my mother-in-law denied everything. And when my husband comes home, she eats all the dishes she had scorned. What a pain in the ass. But this is not the only thing my mother-in-law says. She also says things about our children. You have been married for 3 years, right? Yes, that's right. Grandchildren. Aren't you having my grandchildren yet? That is right. Not yet, not yet. Don't be silly. Answer me properly. Not yet. In the past 3 years. Yes, yes, yes. If a couple can have children after 3 years of marriage, they get divorced, wasn't it? Yes, you know what I mean. When will I get to see my grandchildren? I don't know. It's a gift, so. Isn't that something wrong with you? What? You have a problem, so you can't get pregnant or something. So annoying. Even though I've decided to ignore whatever she says, I'm dealing with her too. Well, I understand what she's trying to say only about this issue. It's not that my husband and I don't want children. Rather, we are always ready to have it. But there is nothing we can do about it, as it does not come to us. We are both still very busy with work, and indeed, we don't have much time to spend with each other right now. Even if my mother-in-law doesn't tell me, I'm thinking about having a child. We are ready to have a baby anytime. From my mother-in-law's point of view, it will be her adorable son's child. I'm sure she can't wait to see it. But you're quite old to have a baby now already, aren't you? I doubt you will have a healthy child. I only accept healthy children. I understand. I will make sure Chris knows it has to be healthy babies. Wait a minute. This has nothing to do with my son. Ha ha. He's a big part of it, isn't he? She must know she's doing something nasty, so she doesn't want her son to know about this. Well, I haven't complained to my husband about his mother. He's very concerned about his mother who lost her husband. My husband would be hurt if he knew about this. Besides, I can still bear it. It's not like she's violent or anything. I thought that if I just let it go in one ear and out the other, everything would be fine. Amid this routine, I found out I was pregnant. My husband and I, thinking of my mother-in-law, told her about it when I was in stable period. However, my mother-in-law had an indescribable look on her face. I thought she would be happy, so I was surprised to find out that she was not. The reason was that my sister-in-law got pregnant at the same time, and she was having problems. She and her husband were having marital problems. They were on the verge of divorce. What on earth was going on? The next day, my sister-in-law came to our house. What she told us was full of surprises. According to my sister-in-law, her husband had been unfaithful, and he left the house with his pregnant wife behind. She did not know what to do and came back to her parents' house relying on her mother. I think coming back to her parents' house itself is natural. However, there are a few things that I did not understand. First of all, this is the house of my mother-in-law, my husband, and I live. If she is going to live here from now on, she should at least tell my husband, let alone me. Furthermore, if her husband had moved out, wouldn't it be good for my mother-in-law to support her at her place until the baby was born? My husband thought the same. Hey sis, I know it has been hard, but it would be nice if you could say a word to us. It's our house now too. In my opinion, I thought it was a very reasonable thing to say. But my sister-in-law and mother-in-law disagreed with us. Your sister has been through a lot. She has been cheated on by her husband, and after all that, he left her. Why don't you go to her house? Sarah is pregnant too. It's not easy having two pregnant women in a house. I will suppose Sarah. Why don't you go to her house and support her? I never know when he will come back. Am I supposed to leave my pregnancy under that kind of stress? No, I didn't say that. Well, then you should have told me before you got here. Lots were going on, and I didn't have time for that. Besides, this is my parents' house. Why should I have to ask for your permission? Dad said that, remember? This is their home now too. When you come back, you have to tell them that you're coming back too. What? Dad passed away? That's not valid. Well, there's no right or wrong. This is certainly my sister-in-law's parents' house. It is no wonder that some people think it's not necessary to say it in advance, and others think it is necessary to say it. And so, we started living together with my sister-in-law in an unfriendly atmosphere. 1 week later, my mother-in-law was so preoccupied with my sister-in-law that she stopped doing household chores altogether. On top of that, she treats me, a pregnant woman too, with a lot of disrespect. My mother-in-law would prepare breakfast as my husband is home, but I was in charge of all the dinners. And not only that, She did not ask me to do so, but she forced me to do so. When my husband came home and ate dinner, he asked me if I made dinner again today. Yes, I did. It's been a week, right? I confided in my husband about everything that had happened up until that day. And then he went to his mother's room in a rage. That's enough. My mother-in-law and my sister-in-law were very surprised when my husband opened the door and suddenly yelled at them. What are you saying all of a sudden? You have been busy with my sister for the past week. How come you are making Sarah do all the dinner preparation? It can't be helped. She's pregnant and it's hard for her. Sarah is pregnant too. Then why don't you help her? You said that you would support her the other day. Okay, I will support her. Sarah, would you mind if we stay at your parents' house for a week or so? I will look for a new place to live while we are there. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Well, let's get ready right away. Tell me what you need. I will pack. Hearing this, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law stopped my husband in a panic. Hey, wait a minute. What about the cost of living? What will happen to the upkeep of this house and our living expenses when you are gone? I don't know. You will have to take care of yourselves. I thought we were doing well with Mom because Sarah didn't say anything. But Mom, you were just being a jerk to Sarah, weren't you? I'm an idiot for not noticing, but you're an even bigger asshole. Oh, come on. It's just a little playful banter. Sarah, I'm sorry for everything that has happened, so please stay here. No, it's just too hard. I can't. Please, live happily with your daughter. I'm saying I need you. Who do you think will take care of my daughter's baby when it's born? I think your daughter, the mother of the child, will take care of it. No, you will take care of it. So you will just have to give it up this time. What the hell is she talking about? You want me to give up my child? Yes, I do. You're younger than my daughter. You still have a chance. Screw you, bitch. Wow, my husband said what I was just thinking. Understood. I will not have your grandchildren. Oh well, then I guess you will just have to leave. Fuck off, bitch. I'm cutting ties with you guys. Chris, you better watch yourself. When your sister is going through a rough time. Sarah is more important to me. Oh, you married a weird woman. Well, okay. But Chris, whatever happens to me in the future, you will not be entitled to get any inheritance, okay? I don't want it. So, we moved out of my mother-in-law's house and moved in with my parents. At first, we planned to stay there for a week. However, my parents told us to take it easy until the baby was born. My husband seemed to feel comfortable and took them up on their offer. And the rest of the time was very peaceful. We should have done this earlier. I'm sorry for being insensitive. It's okay. It's only happened after your father died. It was only for a short time. I'm so sorry. My husband seems so sorry that he has tears in his eyes. No, really, I have talked back to your mother. Really, it's okay. Besides, we have a peaceful life now. Let's look forward to the birth of our child. Yeah. And then, about 6 months after we started living at my parents', I got a call from my mother-in-law. I didn't have anything to say anymore, but I decided to answer the phone anyway. What is it? Sarah, how are you? The reason my mother-in-law contacted me was to ask for money. She said she had some money saved up, but she couldn't withdraw it right away because it is in the time deposit. So she wanted me to lend her some money for a while. I decided to ignore it for the time being. I hung up the phone without saying anything. I told my husband when he came home. He was like, huh? She can't withdraw money because it is in the time deposit. I don't understand what she means. Anyway, I'm pregnant right now. I shouldn't be thinking about unnecessary things at a time like this. However, my mother-in-law was so desperate that she came over to my parents' house. On a day like this, my husband and I were the only ones at home. When my mother-in-law confirmed that my parents were not there, she was about to barge in.
Wait a minute. This is Sarah's parents' house. You can't just barge in here. If you want to talk right here.
I came all the way out here to talk to you.
I didn't invite you. I thought we cut ties with you guys.
It's not that easy to cut ties, is it? So I need you to lend me money.
Impossible. Go home now.
My mother-in-law is treated so badly by my husband. Even so, my mother-in-law does not want to leave the front door. I will tell you the truth, so please lend me some money. And then, my mother-in-law told me something that, well, didn't surprise me. My sister-in-law told me that her husband had cheated on her and that he had moved out of the house. But that was a lie. She cheated on him and got pregnant with a man who was not her husband. So she was divorced and kicked out of the house. Moreover, her husband is demanding alimony from her. When my husband and I heard this story, instead of being surprised, we were convinced. Although we have only known each other for a short time, my sister-in-law's husband is a very gentle person. There was no way that he would throw out his wife who was pregnant with his child.
That's what she deserves. Why don't you ask the father of the child for help?
Well, he ran away. It's really dumbfounding.
I'm not going to help her. I have no reason to help her. I will never forget what you said to me.
What did I say? My mother-in-law and sister-in-law are really beyond help.
You told Sarah to give up the baby.
I apologize for that already. Besides, it is growing up fine, isn't it? Oh, my beautiful grandchild. Don't touch me. My mother-in-law tried to reach her hand on my protruding belly. I shook it off as hard as I could. There's nothing more offensive than being petted by a stranger. I apologized. Don't hold it against me. Sorry, Chris. May I? He nodded silently. I can't forgive you for telling me to give up my child. You do nothing and come ask for help. Things do not work that way.
Well, that's that then. Goodbye.
My husband kicked my mother-in-law out the front door and locked it. 6 months have passed since then. All we got from my mother-in-law was a postcard telling us that my sister-in-law had a baby. We haven't been in touch, so we don't know what's going on with my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and her child. But I like to think they are working hard for the child. Meanwhile, I successfully delivered my first child 5 months ago. A sweet, sweet boy. Raising a child is often a challenge, but with the help of my parents, he's growing up fast. I will continue to protect this life for the sake of my child. There are a certain number of people who can only think of themselves. It's a sad thing, isn't it? At any rate, I'm glad that Sarah and her family were able to escape from her in-laws. From now on, please enjoy a peaceful life. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. I have to call the police.
Hey, stop it!
My husband hurriedly took my phone away from me. I've always kept my bank book and my ID in a safe place. I never thought that such a strange thing could happen. It must have been someone close to me who stole them. My husband is extremely reluctant to report this, and so my distrust of him only grows. My name is Elisa. I'm 25 years old and an office worker. My husband Joe is 28 years old and was an upperclassman in college. After graduating from college, I had a drinking party with my college friends. Joe happened to be there too. That was how we met. We didn't have a chance to see each other while we were in college, so the drinking party was like our first meeting. My husband, who was drunk at the time, made a strong appeal to me, and we decided to go out on the spur of the moment. Even when he wasn't drunk, he told me that he liked me, so I was reassured that he really meant it. My husband is really persistent. He was the one who kept persuading me to marry him from the time we were dating. He would also praise me and say,
"Your soup is delicious. I want to marry you. Thank you for washing my clothes. I want to marry you."
It's these small things, but he really showed how much he wanted to marry me. He loves me so much, so it feels nice. In fact, I am so happy that he talked a lot about our future together. About a year into our relationship, I found out that I was pregnant. To be honest, I was thinking that it would be exciting to have a child with him. Looking back, I sometimes feel that I should have been more careful. When I told my husband that I was pregnant, he was very happy. He always takes action, so we registered our marriage on the same day. We were now living together for the first time. We both used to live on our own. I was somewhat confident in my housework and had my own way of doing things, so I was anxious about living with someone else. My husband had also been living alone for a long time, and he said that he was confident in his housework. I thought that this would be okay, and I had high hopes for him, but I only got disappointed. In the beginning, he washed the dishes and cleaned the house, but the habit was gone after only a month. There were cups left on the table. Clothes were left scattered in the living room. He never took out the trash. I was in the early stages of pregnancy, so I tried to get my husband to help me with the housework as much as possible. I said, "I'm not feeling well today because of the morning sickness. Would you clean up after dinner for me?" My husband didn't even look at me because he was so absorbed in his phone.
"I'm in the middle of a good game right now. I will do it later."
I wonder if he was really listening. I went to bed early. When I woke up the next morning, the dishes were still in the sink. My husband was up late at night playing games on his phone. He's sleeping in the living room. I was in tears because I was suffering and he was not responding to my request for help. But I knew that giving up at this point was not an option. I asked him to help me with the housework again that night. "Did you forget to wash the dishes yesterday? I'd like you to do it today if you can."
"Okay, I know. My mom would never say something like that."
For a moment, what my husband said made me feel uncomfortable. I thought about asking for more details, but my husband might get cranky if I say too much. I swallowed down the discomfort I was sure I felt and simply said, "Thank you." The next morning, I felt so much disappointment again. Yes, my husband did wash the dishes, but the dishes were left without being wiped dry. The sink wasn't wiped either, and the area was also soaked with water. Did I have to say, "Wash the dishes, wipe them, and put them back on the shelf"? I felt so discouraged and sighed deeply. I had no choice but to put the dishes away. I wonder what my husband's life was like when he lived alone. When I was beginning to distrust him, he started to talk about his mother often.
"My mama never made me or my dad do any housework."
"I see. Was your mom working?"
"No, she's a stay-at-home mom. Well, she's a housewife, so she's supposed to do the housework. My mama did her chores perfectly, you know."
"I see.
I hope you can be just like my mama, Lisa. You should work hard."
So for the first time, I learned that my husband called my mother-in-law Mama. I also learned that she is his ideal mother and that he wants me to be like her. I was astonished. Unfortunately, my husband really had a mother complex. Well, how about I quit my job since I'm pregnant and become a full-time housewife? Then I can do more housework.
That's not good. In this day and age, both husband and wife should be working, right? You can't just keep relying solely on my income.
My husband did not listen to my suggestion at all. What? But you want me to be like your mom, don't you?
You can at least balance work and housework, because that's just the way it is now.
So since you're saying it's this day and age, you will share the housework too, right?
What the heck? Even my mama wouldn't make me do that.
What he was saying was so messed up. My head was full of questions. In other words, he wanted me to take care of everything at home and be in charge of the finances too. It was too convenient for my husband, and I cannot accept it. I tried to talk to him again and again, but he would not change his mind. On the contrary, he said something unexpected.
If you don't want to do the housework that badly, I will call mama. That's definitely better.
Why would you do that? That's not what I mean. I just want you to do things right.
I'm telling you, it's not right to make me do it. So if mama is here, it's gonna be solved.
I don't know if it was because he wanted his beloved mother to be close to him, but my husband and I did not get along well. When my belly started to swell and become more noticeable, I was dreading the situation. Finally, my mother-in-law started coming in and out of our house. Oh my, isn't this so dirty? I will do all the housework for you. Every time she came to our house, she was very enthusiastic. It was as if she would redo the chores I had done one after the other. She was always trying to do things that I felt like my pace was disturbed. This is our house, so you don't have to do so much. It's alright. It's better if I do it myself. I'd rather do it myself. I told her what I wanted her to do, but she wouldn't listen to me. It's unfortunate that my mother-in-law and I couldn't communicate well. My mother-in-law seems to be proud of what she has done so far. She would often tell me stories like this. My husband is a bit disagreeable, but he makes a lot of money. He's currently working abroad. Is that so? But the reason he can focus on his job and make so much money is also because of me. I'm sure Joe will be just like his father. So you should learn from me, Alyssa. Haha, yes. This seems to be the reason why my husband was telling me to be like my mother-in-law. I'm sure that my mother-in-law had been telling him this idea for a long time. Oh, by the way, have you decided on a name for your child yet? No, we haven't decided yet.
About that, I'd like you to decide on the child's name, Mama.
What?
Mama is going to help us a lot when the baby is born, so I don't mind if she decides.
Oh my God! I'm so glad! Even when I make a blatantly disgusted face, they don't even look at me. I'm the one who is going to give birth to my baby, but I'm getting angry at their selfishness. I guess it was because of these days that I began to have frequent stomach cramps. I was stressed out and felt that my body was starting to show signs that I was not doing well. Every time my stomach grumbled, I would worry that my child would suffer. I became sicker and sicker at work, and so I began to take longer and longer breaks. I felt bad about this, and so I decided to talk to my boss about it. I said, "Excuse me, I need to talk to you about something." My boss immediately told me that he could tell just by looking that I was not feeling well. He suggested that I take maternity leave as soon as possible. I felt bad and said, but my boss said he would be happier if I had a healthy child and returned to work in good health. With his encouragement, I decided to take his advice and go on maternity leave. Thankfully, the people around me did not criticize me for it, but rather they supported me. When I get home, I will tell my husband that I'm on maternity leave. My mother-in-law was there today as well, as she should be. When I told them about my maternity leave, my husband didn't look happy about it.
What are you going to do throughout that time? How are you going to make a living?
I can't work because of my health condition. It's for the sake of our child. Let's just manage to get by on our own.
If you're not feeling well, then why don't you ask my mama to take care of the housework? Then you can go to work.
Yes, that's right. My mother-in-law's expression of approval is very annoying. My mother-in-law is the cause of my health problems, but my husband doesn't understand anything. I didn't like his response and have lost interest in arguing with him any further. I'm sorry, but if you can't understand me no matter what I say, then I can't stay here. I'm on maternity leave and I'm going home to have a baby, so I'm going back to my parents' house right away.
Back to your parents' house? What do you mean?
I had hoped to give birth at my hometown without my husband's knowledge. I was afraid that if I talked to my husband about it, he would say that he wants my mother-in-law to be there, so I could not tell him. When they found out that I was going back to my hometown, they were both furious. You traitor! How dare you do this?
You hurt my mama. Why don't you just have the baby here?
The two of them were so furious that I was surprised and overwhelmed. But I knew that if I didn't get out of there, I might be pushed around by my mother-in-law and my husband who has a mother complex. I've already paid the hospital where I'm going to give birth. You don't want to waste money, do you? Actually, I hadn't paid for it yet. But to my stingy husband, this lie seems to be effective. With the two of them trembling with anger, I quickly packed up my belongings and went back to my parents' house that day. Life at home is like heaven. I was able to spend time at my own pace. I was relaxed. My stomach tightness gradually got lighter, and my health condition gradually stabilized. As for my mother-in-law and husband, I think they are still very much upset that I'm going to give birth here. While I was here, they did not contact me at all. Actually, it made me feel safe and secure. I am able to spend my time without thinking about anything bad. And I was able to give birth to a healthy baby boy on the exact day of his due date. My husband probably forgot about the due date because he never contacted me at all. It seems he didn't know that I had given birth, so I decided to let him know that the baby was born safely. Then, after such a long period of no contact, I received a phone call from my husband.
You don't have to stay at your parents' house anymore, right? Come home soon.
The truth is, I wanted to stay at home for a little while longer and focus on raising my child. However, I had been at my parents' house for a long time, so I decided to return to my husband's place. When I returned to my husband's house, my mother-in-law was waiting for me. I wondered how they would react. As soon as he saw his son's face, he complained.
Why did he have to look like Elisa? He should have looked more like me.
He looks like you here, and he looks like me over here. He doesn't look like Elisa, so it's fine. Even though I endured the pain and the struggle of giving birth, they treated me so badly. I didn't have time to react to the words of my mother-in-law and husband. What was even more shocking was that the layout of the house had been completely changed. I could tell immediately that my mother-in-law had done it. You did a lot of redecorating, huh? I'm the one who did it.
I had my mama come over every day since I started working remotely. I also had our room redecorated to my mama's liking.
They are talking so happily in close proximity, and it felt physically impossible for me to be here, so I looked away. I found it unbearable to have my mother-in-law by my side. I urged my mother-in-law to leave because I felt tired that day. She came to our house with a large package with the intention of staying the night, so she didn't like it. "If you disrespect me, you're gonna get it." She left the house with a loud bang. For the next few days, my mother-in-law did not come. I felt very much at ease, even when I had to take care of my child. When my mother-in-law comes over, it would be chaotic again. So I decided to put together the documents to be submitted to the office in the meantime. Oh, I put them away here, but they're not here. I can't find my bank book and ID, which I need to submit the documents. I had kept them in my room, so there was no way they could be missing. I asked my husband just to be sure, but he said he didn't know. I placed those in a pouch and put it in a drawer in my room, so it was natural that he didn't know about it. I searched for it in the corner of the house, thinking that I might have left it somewhere when I was tired. However, the room had been redecorated without my permission, so I could not find it easily. Because it is an important thing, I suddenly felt uneasy. It's most likely a thief. Maybe they got in while we were gone. I have to call 911. I picked up my phone to consult with the police before anything serious happens. My husband, looking impatient, stops me.
Stop it! I was home most of the time anyway. And as for guests, it's only Mama who came to the house. It's not worth calling the police.
Because even after all this searching, I can't find it, you know. If it had been stolen, we'd be in big trouble.
Look again. If you don't look hard enough, you will cause Mama trouble.
My husband snatched the phone out of my hand, desperately trying to stop me from calling the police. Why is he in such a hurry? He doesn't give me my phone back for a while after that. He has also been making a lot of comments defending his mother. I felt suspicious about his behavior and decided to take drastic action. The next day, my mother-in-law came to our house for the first time in a while. Her movements were awkward, and her vibe was different. She was looking from left to right and did not look at me at all. I sensed that she was hiding something from me, so I decided to ask her about it. "Emma, I want to ask you something. When you redecorated our room, did you see my bank book and ID?" "Well, I don't know. I wonder what happened." "I'm having a really hard time finding them, so I'm thinking of talking to the police." "The police? Oh, that's right. I remember now." "You remember?" "The pouch with a flower design. It was in your room. Did you lose it by any chance? You can't even keep track of your belongings. You're so pathetic." She was upset and raising her voice. My mother-in-law looked so suspicious, but still, I couldn't understand how she could still make fun of me. I thought that my mother-in-law needed no mercy. I folded my arms. "How did you know those items were in the flower pattern pouch?" "What?" My mother-in-law stiffened, and her face looked guilty. My husband also turned pale and held his head in his hands. Seeing the two of them together, I felt angry and ashamed of them, plus a bunch of other feelings that were hard to describe. "I see it now. Then I should leave it to the police."
Stop!
"Don't do that!" At that moment, the sound of sirens rang out from outside. "A police car is already outside. If you have an excuse, please tell it to the police." My husband and mother-in-law continued to make excuses. I told them that I didn't need to listen to what they had to say. I decided to leave the rest to the police. Thanks to the police, my bank book and ID were returned to me. I knew that my mother-in-law had stolen them. My mother-in-law, who did not like my behavior, did it to harass me. She actually tried to withdraw money from my account, but she was told by the bank teller that only the owner of the account could do it. The bank refused to accept the withdrawal. Even so, she kept my bank book and ID hidden to harass me. My husband knew what my mother-in-law had done, but he could not betray his beloved mother and hurt her back. When I learned of this fact, I confronted him with divorce. I thought that I would never want to see these guilty people again, so I also demanded child support in one lump sum. Of course, neither my husband nor my mother-in-law had the financial means to do so. I told them to contact my father-in-law right then and there. My father-in-law seems to be a decent man. When he found out what my mother-in-law and husband had done, he took my side. He told me that he would take care of the child support and that my mother-in-law and husband were responsible for paying him back. Thus, the time Joe and I were married only lasted a short time. But I'm glad that I got rid of that man. Now that I'm a single mother, I'm more than happy to see my son grow up. My life is busy and difficult, but my son has made every day of my life very fulfilling. I'm now getting close to going back to work, and I'm trying to push myself to live strongly. As for my ex-husband, after the divorce, I sometimes hear rumors about him, and it seems that his mother complex got worse. An acquaintance of mine has seen my ex-husband and my mother-in-law walking hand in hand, and was worried about what was going on. I have no feelings for my ex-husband at all, so that I can laugh at such stories. I know that they will never change, but I wanted them to repay their debt to my father-in-law.